Oh, it didn't say recording started, but it did.
Okay, recording is started. Okay, welcome from the IIBA Tampa Bay, Florida chapter study group. This is June 2020. Today is the 21st of June. This is our 40th consecutive class. Congratulations to those of you who have been instrumental in getting this going and keeping it going. We have a mission here at the Tampa Bay, Florida chapter is to bridge the gap between industry leaders and business analysts by building partnerships with professionals, educators, and employers so that we may empower, instruct, and engage the Tampa Bay IT community. Even though we call ourselves the Tampa Bay IIBA, we cover all of Northern Florida, and we have members from all over the world that are members of our chapter because of our activities. Things that we do that you might want to be a member for is we have mentoring, we have resume review, we have one-on-one coaching, we have study groups, we have lunch and learns, we have a variety of ways that you can reach us. The BABOK study group is this one you're joining now. It's every Tuesday from 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern time. You can see here's our address for Meetup and our Zoom online. Past meeting recordings is here highlighted in turquoise. We also have a location on the IIBA website, our own website, Meetup. We've got a Facebook group. We have 2 different LinkedIn groups. A majority of these, if not all of these, are a result of Cliff, our president. His marketing genius has kept us on the cusp of getting good communication to everybody. I said we had past recordings. These are our past recordings, numbers 2 through 17. We went through study questions for the test. These are test questions provided by Watermark Learning, and we would do one chapter for 2 weeks at a time and then go to the next chapter. And we're trying to figure out what is it we're going to do next. Maybe we'll go back through these and see if we can make better scores than we did last time we went through. As you know, this is a volunteer-run organization. I mentioned Cliff earlier. That's a picture of him there. Cliff Gray, he is our president of the Florida chapter for Tampa. Lori is our vice president of finance. Caitlin and Priscilla are board members at large. My name is Thea Raisins. I'm the vice president of career and professional development. Tiffany Gardner is a person who leans in occasionally to help me run this class, but the star of the show is Bob Churchill. Bob has earned his CBAP certification. He's also earned a plethora of additional certifications, and he is not only here to help us pass this CBAP certification, but to lend his insight in for many years of being a business analyst. He also has some education in mechanical engineering, project management, lean. He's got a 6 Sigma black belt. He has a website there, rpchurchill.com. that he has blog posts on many of the things that we've talked about in the past, as well as many other things that are beneficial to someone becoming a business analyst or even interested in the field. You can see his email address here, bob@rpchurchill.com. He is very responsive and interested. If you go to his website and you find something you have a question about, send him a message. If you have a challenge or a way that he can make something better, send him a message. He wants to make it the best he can possibly make it. So today we have a special guest that's going to be presenting. His name is Marlon. He lives in Jamaica. He's with the Kingston chapter in Kingston, but he is making a presentation today on the IIBA's BABOK, the International Institute of Business Analysis Book of Knowledge. And what he's going to talk about is chapter 9, which is competencies. So Marlon, let me let you take over and take it away.
Awesome. Good evening, guys. Let me just do my share screen here. Make sure I can, just let me know when you can see my screen.
It is started screen sharing now. I'm going to go on mute and let you take it away, sir.
Awesome. So today, guys, we're here to talk about underlying competencies. Firstly, I will not pretend as if I'm the expert on all of these. Matter of fact, I'm going to tell you I'm not. we are here in a study group, and I believe the best way to make this worth it and to take full advantage of it is for us to all participate. Now, we know we have experts in the room, and I'm going to be leaning on you guys to help me to execute this well. So as you can see on my screen, I have a presentation. Now, my presentation is not very detailed because I want it to be discussion oriented, all right? So here's what I've done. I have a basic outline, and let's say that we have one skill area here that we need to have. I have a how do I page. And with this page, I want full participation from everybody. So Ben, her, Bob, Tia, you are welcome to participate. Sylvia, we're gonna have to talk to each other, right? And then we have a section called pitfalls, traps, and lessons, right? I'm just showing you ahead of time because when we get there, I want us to talk about it. I also have a copy of the BABOK guide right here. If you saw some work products, just don't ignore it. So we can also go directly to the BABOK and talk about it as well, all right? We may do some reading from it, but I'd want it to be more discussion based. Can I ask you to open your mic and let me know if you understand the plan here?
I'm all for it. Let's do it.
Let's go. All right, awesome. So let me get this guy up and let's talk about underlying competencies, all right? So as a business analyst, we know that, hey, it's a skill-based job. We have to be skilled in a number of areas. And while it's okay to say that, okay, we can do some documents, we can do some flows, the soft skills tend to be very important and cannot be overlooked, all right? So here we have 6 categories, right? From analytical thinking and problem solving, behavioral characteristics, business knowledge, communication skills, interaction skills, and tools and technology that you must be aware of, okay? So let's jump to the key one here. Analytical thinking. What comes to mind when you hear about analytics, analytical thinking? What's the first thing that comes to mind, Ben?
What comes to my mind? For me, when I think about analytical thinking, problem solving, I think about, how.
Hold on for a second. I want you to move your hand from your mouth a bit.
Oh, sorry.
So we can hear you.
Sorry about that. I wasn't mindful. I have my camera on today. But anyways, for me, what comes to my mind is like how I can, when I think about problem solving, analytical thinking is how I can solve the problem effectively. That's how I think about it. How can I solve this problem?
Yeah.
That's what comes up in my mind. It's
yes,
more,
Bob.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ben. I like that. If you have to be effective, all right, that's the first thing. Bob, shoot, Bob.
Getting absolutely as much data as possible, input from as many people as possible, so you can wallow in the material, see all the connections and not miss anything.
So Bob, I'm hearing preparedness. Preparedness.
More than, I think of it more as thoroughness.
Thoroughness. So the more information you have, the more comfortable you are with the subject matter. So when you deep dive in it, you can know the ins and outs. So any decision you make, you have a basis for that decision. Is that what I'm getting from you?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thea, see that hand, see that hand, come through.
Whenever I think about analytical thinking, first of all, I think left brain. I think breaking every problem down into its smallest possible components and seeing the relationships. So that way it's easy to schedule, solve, because any problem, if you break it down into the smallest components, you can solve the small components and solve those big problems.
And you see patterns, right?
Mm-hmm.
How they connect together, go from there. Anybody else want to chime in? What about Sylvia? Okay.
Sorry, I was eating my dinner.
It's good. It's good.
But
That's good.
yeah, I agree with Bob. I have a pretty vast knowledge base, but the connections that I make with all that knowledge that I've accumulated over the years it makes it less intimidating to find new stuff out. Like, I don't even have to know about accounting per se. I have accounting job now. I don't know accounting, but I'm a programmer. So those skill set comes in handy.
You can translate it.
My thinking's more intuitive now.
Ah,
Like, I just accumulate knowledge, and I keep accumulating knowledge,
I like that.
whatever I find interesting. And
I like that. I have something on that a little later on. So we're going to come back to that. So the intuition, you have to trust yourself, right? That's also a big part of it. So when Bob goes and he deep dives, he's thinking that he needs to be prepared, and he's being very thorough, right? Theo is connecting the dots. Ben is looking at make sure you're efficient and effective, right? But you have to trust your gut feeling. That's important as well, right? So let's look at what the book says and let's work at it somewhere. So when you talk about analytical thinking and problem solving, you have to think creatively. Decision making, learning, problem solving itself, system thinking, right? Conceptual thinking, visual thinking. And it says, as a business analyst, you use analytical thinking by rapidly assimilating various types of information and identifying which are relevant, right? You have to choose effectively as well and be adaptive in the methods that you learn that you learn in terms of analyzing the media, the audience, the problem types, environments, and everything that you encounter. And did we hear everything mentioned here earlier? Did we hear it? I feel like I heard everything, right? But tell me something though. What does creativity have to do with my job? What does that have to do with being a BA? Do I have to be creative? How does that work? That was the first thing. Go ahead, Pierre.
You have to be creative because sometimes the way to solve a problem best is not the way that everyone else has always done it. You know, we've always done it that way doesn't mean it's the best way to do it.
Isn't
So
that the worst answer?
I hate that answer, but it definitely gets passion going. So yeah, we have to be creative.
Yes, we have to. And the solution isn't always going to be right in front of you.
Right.
And not because 10 persons did it and it worked for 5 years. Listen, I've worked on legacy software, right? And one of the things that I've seen with legacy software is that it's working. The technology may be 13, 10, 20 years old, but it's working. And when you talk about stuff that's working to a business that's dependent on that technology, they're like, but it's working, don't touch it. So you have to be creative in terms of just thinking about how efficient it is, everything. So whatever solution you come up with now, it must outpace and be much better than what is, right? All right. Anybody else want to jump in here on any of these in terms of decision making? There's a decision making.
But that Windows
guide.
95 machine that's running all your phone system from the closet that's been in there for the last 30 years is working.
It's working.
And that's an actual real life example, guys. But, you know, it introduces security risk and everything else when you have stuff that's that old. It doesn't get patched. It doesn't get fixed. Yeah, it's working and you're going to get resistance, but yeah.
Unless it's not hooked to the internet, because I have a Windows 7 that I run my laser printer off of because it stopped working on my Windows 10 computer.
Oh, okay. So you see, and that's creative thinking. You could have thrown out the printer and go get a new one.
No,
Correct?
Yeah.
thanks to it.
Technically you could. Let's be honest. Technically you could. But thinking creatively led you to say, okay, but it used to work on this thing. So let me try that. And you tried something and there you have a solution. You didn't spend any more money. So you found a solution to that, right?
Yeah.
Steve Ben nodding his head.
I mean, I took a course this course changed my life. And when I was at George Mason University, it's a problem solving class, IT 102, problem solving, critical thinking. So I failed the course the first time I took it because my critical thinking and problem solving were below par. So I had to retake the course, and then what that class taught me was it's all about logic, reasoning, problem solving. Was it's high level design, discrete structures. It's a pre-introduction, pre-programming, and if you're going to be in programming, anything in general that requires high level thinking, you have to have good basic foundation of problem solving and critical thinking. So I like that foundation. So I had to retake the course. And then what I did, how I grew into critical thinking is just solving a lot of problems, doing a lot of math problems, doing a lot of algebra problems. The class is like a variety of like set theories, combination, discrete probability, mathematical induction, recursion, basic introduction to trigonometry. And I did those problems over and over again. I immersed myself for over 2 semesters, and my critical thinking problem solving grew. Like I grew as critical thinking. So every time I think about problem solving, analytical thinking, problem solving, I always think about that course I took, because that class set me up for success. Because people that think critically and are able to think critically and solve problems are people that go far in their career path. And those are the kind of people companies want. You know what I mean? So
Yes.
it's a very important topic, brother. I'm glad you're presenting this. I'm very happy. You made it my day.
Awesome. And the good thing here, Ben, is that the more you do it, the more comfortable you come with it. And the more your brain expands, the more you find new ideas, you see new patterns right there. You see new patterns. And once you see those patterns, then when you get to Sylvie's level, you're just like cruising. Right? So right here we have a bit more information on that talk about possessing a sound understanding of the analytical thinking and problem solving core competencies allow the business analysts to identify the best ways to present information to their stakeholders. So we have a bunch of like minor areas. We talk about creative thinking. You're going to present stuff. You're going to have to learn about it. But when you talk about systems thinking, what differentiates problem solving from systems thinking? What comes to mind there?
Systems thinking is a holistic looking at it from every angle, which is basically what Bob said earlier.
Yeah. He spoke more of the details and he wants to see everything, right? So but when you use the word holistic, you're not talking about just details. You're looking at the context within which you operate. You're looking at the surrounding areas, right? And you're looking at how it affects the effects and affect things around it, right? So what Bob said earlier spoke more about the information, the plethora of information. Right now we're getting more into the cause and effect, how things relate. So the patterns you spoke of as well is like you can't separate your creative mind from your systems thinking, from your problem solving. Everything must work together. And that's one of the goals I want to achieve here. We talk about the holistic aspect of it. You can't separate them. You shouldn't separate it. It's just a matter of how you do each separately, but together at the same time,
Okay.
All right. So how do I think analytically? How do I? Because it's one thing to say that we can do these things, think of the system, be holistic and be creative, have these skill sets. But how do I do that? Let me jump off right here by saying, try to understand the context. Bob did that. Without that, we're going to be in problems, right? Right. Recognize patterns. It's right there. Like these things keep coming out for a reason. Say intuition. Is there any other point that we can make right here that can speak to how to think critically that wasn't mentioned or isn't quite obvious just yet?
As business analysts, whenever we are trying to gather information, we also have not only look at the information that's available, but we have to figure out who has information in their head that they don't even know they should tell us. And so we have to think about their personality, their communication style, their history with the project or the company, and then be able to ask them the questions to pull that information out of them. So the analysis and critical thinking of how to use all these resources to get the information you need is going to be part of the analytics that you have to go through.
I love that. You connecting the dots to the rest of the competencies right there. You have to make sure that it's not just your brain at work, but how to utilize others around you as well to get the best from them. Cool. So here's something that Steve Jobs says. It says connecting the dots has been around for a long time, right? I'm just throwing back to my friend Steve Jobs, you know. I say my friend because we all love Steve to a degree, right?
Yeah.
So it has crept into our popular culture. Thanks in part to Steve Jobs. They're crediting him here. I don't remember where I found this quote, right? He talked about this in August 2011 when he described what connecting the dots meant to him. He said, you cannot connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. So you have to trust that somehow the dots will connect in the future. So, and this is somebody that we can say definitively was a critical thinker, can't we? Yeah, and he's thinking about seeing these patterns, seeing the context, ensuring that things align, and trusting your instincts. Because when he came out with some stuff, there were people doing it before him, but he did it better, right? He had new stuff, but he felt fresh. He was always on the ball. And did everything he put out work? Was it a hit all at once?
No.
Definitely not. And there's a space for that because that's where learning happens, right? All right, so let's jump to the next thing now, because we can't talk about this and not talk about pitfalls. As a critical thinker, and you guys are critical thinkers, right? So tell me about the traps, the lessons that you learned so far. So I have one here, right? I have one, and the floor is open right after that. OODA loop. Who remember what OODA loop is about? Observe, orient,
Decide,
and
act.
OODA. So you have to observe what's going on, right? Orient yourself, know the context, know which direction you want to go, make a decision, right? And if you need to go back and reorient and make a decide again, make some more observation, you keep doing that, but don't stop using this loop. It's your friend.
May
Yes,
I
yes, Bob.
observe something? That's a similar framework to mine and also the Plan, Do, Check, Act loop. That Six Sigma teaches, everybody essentially comes to the same kind of solution to get information, act on it, receive feedback, and so on. And the thing about the OODA loop, it came out of the military.
Yeah, it did.
And it's the same thing. Always iterate, keep adding more information.
Yeah, because we're not static, right? We never are static, and we work in a dynamic field where new information, there are new players, there are new dynamics, new changes every single day, and the market analysts or the market research from last year will not hold for next year, and you have to be willing to observe that again. You have to be willing to assimilate that information all over, compare it to what was, make some decisions, and take actions. There's this thing called I don't remember what it's. The phraseology is skipping my brain right now, but it talks about being stuck in a loop where you keep getting more information, you keep going. It's decision paralysis, I think it's called.
It's analysis paralysis.
Analysis paralysis.
The analysis paralysis. You analyze everything.
You keep going, thinking that there's something more,
but you never take action. Yeah.
That's it. And that's why for me, this is key, because it's better for you to act on what you know. And that the second part, if you combine it with asking questions, ask questions. So if you feel like you're stuck, ask questions. The worst thing you can be stuck in is analysis paralysis. You want to be free of that. And that's how acting and asking questions come into play. That's my lesson section. Anybody want to talk about, oh yes, Tia. If you see me pointing, it's because of the monitors, right?
It's
So go
okay.
ahead.
It's okay. Traps and pitfalls. I'm going to say that making assumptions that you understand something, or that you think you understand something and you act on it. I think that it's important that you can verbalize your assumptions and document your assumptions publicly, so that other people can challenge it or correct it, or say, okay, yeah, we think that's true too, but we don't know why we think that. So assumptions is a big deal.
Can I say, like, I've been doing some risk analysis on one of my projects, right? And one of the key things that I have to make sure I put in that risk analysis are assumptions. So if I'm assuming that based on what we have here, and there, then that's possible. I have to say it. And by saying it, and I remember a few months ago, I said, I'm assuming to one of my sponsors that you want X, Y, and Z. You have not said this to me, but I'm assuming that's what you want. And if that's what you want, then you have these options, and X, Y, Z can come off that. And it was like, I was thinking about that, but he didn't put it anywhere. He didn't say to anybody what he was thinking about. So in my assumption, he was able to validate a part of it, and he refuted a part of it, and it made dialogue better, right? And that's just a lesson I learned over time. And I wouldn't say I came into the game being able to do that, but documenting it, as you said, is very, very important. I see, pronounce your name for me, please. Just open your mic, pronounce your name so we can dialogue.
Yeah, hi, I'm Paloma Greenwald. I'm calling in from Phoenix. Thank you, Marlon, for your lessons. I just wanted to give a brief example because I made a comment about considering unintended consequences, secondary or tertiary level, because I just sat through a lecture where the professor explained a consulting group that came in. This might be kind of a issue for Bob, but the consulting company was doing route management for a public school system, and finding ways to be more efficient with that. And they eliminated a couple of routes, and it turned out these poor elementary school kids were being forced to walk past some swampland in Florida. Now, at the end of the day, no children were injured, thankfully, but they didn't have the local knowledge and had the assumption that there would be sidewalks or just more infrastructure or right. But anyway, that was just one example that really stuck with me.
I was almost eaten by an alligator about 3 months ago.
Sorry.
Oh no.
I was 10 feet from it and turned around and walked away, and I did not get eaten. So it's a real legitimate thing.
Every Floridian has that story, though. I'm a native. Yeah, that always happens here.
I'm sorry, guys. This is funny though. I'm sorry. I'm happy you're good though. But the context, everything is hella funny to me. But go ahead.
That is assumptions that you understand all of the information, and those people had no clue that this was even a concern.
And I guess you're tying that right back to what Bob said earlier, making sure you have the context, the plethora, and just be able to see more information. So when you go to decide on something, you're well informed.
Yes.
All right. Anybody else want to throw another lesson here, apart from OODA loop and asking questions and assumptions?
One thing I wanted to add was like, it's very important. Like I strive to be, I really worked hard in the past like couple year and a half. I really worked hard on my problem solving, critical thinking, because before they were below par. And like people that have, that have good, critical thinking, problem solving, have a growth mindset, right? Because they embrace challenges. And then people, I developed this growth mindset where I can learn, pick up things easily because it's mindset shift of having a growth mindset, which is very important. I highly recommend. It's like, because when you develop having a growth mindset is, going from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. It's a development, and how you go to a growth mindset is constantly challenging yourself, learning and growing, taking on challenges, and then developing those abilities, right? That's what a growth mindset is. And then that's what really changed my life. Now I can think critically, I strive to become a problem solver. It's a mindset shift, really, from saying, from I can't to I can, you know what I mean? So those are what we have to, you have to overcome, some limiting beliefs in your mind. That's what it is. I just wanted to add.
So what may I probe a little bit? Do I have permission to do that, guys? Can I probe? So what made you think that your mindset was below par though? No, I don't know you well, but you seem like you have the basics, right? You know what you're doing, you're thriving, you're trying. So why say it was below par? And here's why I'm asking. I'm asking because on the surface, you can meet somebody you never know, right? And then because you have a growth mindset, you improve and you change. I don't think the Ben that I met a few weeks ago when you did your presentation is the same guy in front of me, right? So I see you as somebody who's always growing. I see you as somebody who's capable of so much more, right? So why do you think that, it's below par, or what is that par? And who says you're ever below anything? Because for me, also, you may think you're here, but you're capable of so much more,
What I said was, I don't think you understand what I said. I said my mindset before, like a few years ago, my mindset was below par. I had a fixed mindset. I used to stay away from challenges. I used to not stick with things, but I developed this mindset now, through, coaching, mentorship, guidance I've gotten. Now I have a growth mindset. I embrace learning. I love challenges. I stick with my challenges. I don't give up when it comes to challenges. And that's all, it's a mindset shift from going from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. And then that's when, when you shift to a growth mindset, you develop good critical thinking, problem solving, like you talked about when you started off the presentation. I like the way you started off. You went straight to analytical thinking and problem solving. And then that's what ringed all those memories, what I had to go through to shift my mindset, where now I love learning, you know what I mean? I love grinding, I love challenges because I developed a mindset of learning, which is a growth mindset. And then you have to stick with it. You have to stick with a growth mindset. You can easily go back to a fixed mindset. You stop challenging yourself. You should stop learning. You stop growing in your career, whatever you do.
And you'll never stop. You can always get better.
Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
And kudos to you, Ben. We're cheering for each other, right, guys? So kudos.
I like
to
what you said about self-limiting beliefs. That's something I'm constantly working on. Like Marlon said, is we kind of work backwards, removing the self-limiting beliefs, shifting our perception constantly. It's awesome stuff.
I just wanted to add to that, Sylvia. You just said what you said, like what the dot says, the quote says, you have to work backwards. So that's what I had to do. I had to work backwards. I was like, why isn't my mindset? Why can't I learn this? So I was like, you know what? I should get a coach and a mentor. That's why I got coaching. I got support. I got help. I shifted my mindset because I had a fixed mindset before. Like I worked backwards. I was like, you know what? I wasn't, I didn't have good upbringing. I didn't go back I had to go back deep down to my high school days, to my middle school days. And I was like, no, this is why I'm not learning. So I should get guidance, support, coaching. Your upbringing has a lot to do how you turn out, what kind of environment you were raised in. Did your parents raise you right? All those little things matter, and you have to work backwards and then change your life, through the right. Like you have to change your life yourself. No one's gonna do it for you. You know what I mean? So in all areas of your life, a growth mindset is key, and I highly recommend that.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you very much. We're gonna jump to the next slide now. Talk about competency number 2, behavioral characteristics, right? Because we talk about the mind a lot. But how do you prove that this is what you are? You have to be able to demonstrate it, and it comes out in what you do. So here we have the core competencies for behavioral characteristics. We have ethics, personal accountability. You have to be trustworthy, organized, self-organized with time management, and be able to adapt quickly, right? I see you pointing to your mind again, to your head again. That's it, right? That's how you do. So tell me, guys, because we're having this discussion, right? And give me a second. I feel like I skipped something just now. Okay, I did not. I did not. Okay. So tell me, guys, ethics, personal accountability. Is ethics fluid? Is it situational? Or is it conditional?
Ethics are personal, and you as a person are in different situations, but you as a person have your own ethics. And if you have strong ethics, they don't change based on the situation. Your ethics are demonstratable regardless of your situation.
Hey, I like that. She agrees with you, right? I like that.
Yeah,
We call that doing the right thing.
yeah. No matter if anybody's watching or not.
Exactly.
And ethics are, there's a concept called deontological versus, I forget the other one, but deontological is purely rule-based. And there's no ethical system that is complete because the context is always different. So what you're trying to do is there are certain things that are constants, but sometimes you have to choose between two bad choices. And you always want to take the highest quality action available.
What do you mean by highest quality action? What measures would you
Well,
use? Like, is a
for
consequence thing?
example, lying is generally bad, but that's better than turning fugitives over to the Nazis in World War II. So the lie is the lesser sin, and that kind of thing comes up all the time.
Awesome. So I'm going to read definition from the BABOK guide, guys. So it says, ethics require an understanding and focus on fairness, consideration, and moral behavior through business analysis activities and relationships. Ethical behavior includes consideration of the impact that a proposed solution can have on all stakeholder groups and working to ensure that those groups are treated as fairly as possible, right? So it's talk about how considerate you are of others. So it's that nasty question, you know, do I lie or do I just, you know, save my own self? It's about being honest and fair. And I think you did an excellent job, Bob. Thank you. Right. And this also ties into personal accountability, don't you think?
And trustworthiness.
Yeah.
I don't mind sharing. I feel like I support not share, but it's like it's you know, it's a core belief you have adopted since you were a childhood, right? Your belief system, like how you behave, how you act, how you were raised at your house, the beliefs, the mindset your parents instilled in you is how you behave outside. You know what I mean? So like your ethics, your, like, you know, certain things you don't, if you don't have those, like no one instilled those in you, like, you know, as an adult, you have to learn those. Like I had to, like certain things I had to learn on my own because my parents, I'm not blaming my parents. I'm not a victim. I'm a victor of my, you know, circumstance. I overcome my circumstances. But I'm saying like certain things you have to learn on your own if no one was there for you, you know, when you were younger. So as an adult, I had to unlearn a lot of things, you know, how society works, how, you know, how I can have, you know, ethics, you know, how I can be accountable to other people, how I can be accountable to myself, like being adaptable. These things are very important, especially as in your career path. You have to display competency. You know what I mean? You have to be competent at your job, right? And it's a character. You can't replace character. You can have all the degrees, all the knowledge, but if you don't have character, you can't stay on your job, right? That's the most important thing, right? Character. It just ties to ethics, accountability, trustworthiness, and all the other rest, which are critical, important for your success in your career, all areas of your life.
Yeah, I like that. Is to keep growth, continuous growth, right? I remember seeing this. Don't quote me on this, right? But there was this infographic that I saw a few months ago that spoke to companies hiring persons, right? So persons tend to always want the most salary or the biggest position. Companies are going to hire the best and the brightest all the time. One of the key things they need to make decisions on are, hey, is this person trustworthy? Do you have high competency and high trust? Can I have that with this person? Or am I going to settle for high competency and low trust? So when you have an organization that you have a person is very brilliant, very good, you can't trust them, what's going to happen? You're going to create friction in your workforce, right? You want to have as high a competency as possible with as high a trust. So some persons will actually put more value on your trustworthiness and your personal accountability skills than your actual competency. To have both and be balanced is key, right? So you can be as bright as you want to be, but you can't be selfish and just think about yourself and not be trustworthy or accountable. You have to have a balance of that.
I think it was the Navy SEALs the United States Navy SEALs that came to that conclusion. They were willing to go for medium competency as long as they had high trust.
Yeah, and that's key. Wilbur, welcome, bro. See your hand.
Hi guys.
Hey, man.
Wilbur?
Thank you for the invitation. Yeah, I know I'm coming late into this series, but just to add a comment on what Marlon is saying, that I was recently employed about 7-8 months ago, and I think I nailed that interview question pretty well, where they asked about your higher managements and if you disagree with them and things like that. And my comment was on emotional intelligence. So just to swing in on behavioral characteristics is, like, if one has emotional intelligence, they are able to hold themselves accountable and take responsibility, when things are going south, not to have a blame game or, sit in guilt and shame and do nothing about, because you're sitting in that depth of emotion. So emotional intelligence is I think a very vital characteristic to have to keep moving and to keep the task going, and not bring your emotions and cause that to be a constraint to the development of the task.
Thank you. That's key. That's key. All right, thank you. Anybody else want to jump in here? And welcome, Wilbur. You say you're late to the series.
Yeah, I
I
actually watched last year's recorded meetings, so that's how I came across you guys. I'm preparing for the ECBA exam.
Okay, awesome. And all the best with that, bro.
Thank you.
All right, cool. So who wants to take on organization and time management? I feel like Sylvia could be holding on to some key resource and nuggets right there for us to say, hey,
Not really.
Not really.
I make a list. I work best from a task list.
That's a
and
technique.
I just bang away at it. Yeah, that's it.
Exactly. Make a list, right? And check. And it's kind of cathartic to check those boxes, right?
Yeah, it's just me. I have
How
so
about
much
you, Cliff?
going on. That's what I do.
Cliff, how about you? How do you stay organized? What's your secret?
People find it annoying, but I have an accounting degree and background, but I actually do data work now. So very analytical. I keep spreadsheets of everything. I'm doing a data import on my other computer here, so I'm sorry I'm half paying attention.
That's okay.
But stuff that, I'm doing a data import for like a group, and I actually keep track of how many records went in the system, what time we started, what kind of throughput we're getting, and stuff that most people don't do. They just tell you, oh, these records are there. So I have the habit of not only knowing the times, hey, we got 1 million records, we got it in 2 hours, we got this kind of throughput. And then not only do that, I actually bring that data back. So I'll read it from the system and bring it back. And that's called verified that it's in the system, because you don't always get that. So but I'm perfect for, I guess, the data role, I've been told, because of that kind of thinking. But that's just the way I do things.
So let me probe a bit.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way you do things. How long have you been doing that? That's not just something that just occurs for everybody. So when did you start doing that, and what made you just continue with that to build on it to where you are now, where it's like second nature to you? How do I get that from you?
I don't know. I would have to say like even high school or earlier, always told, hey, you know what? You got a mind for math and those kinds of things. I mean, I don't know. I grew up in the era where, you know, you were, unfortunately, girls were always told they were good at English and writing, and guys were always told to focus on math and analytics. Again, showing my age. It's not always true, not true at all, but I don't know. I look at everything analytical. Numbers.
It's okay. You understand why I'm asking though, because for some persons it's going to be easier than it is for others, right? And a part of get these competencies is that you may identify something that you need to work on. And Ben said it earlier. He said you have to have a mindset of growth. So let's say that you don't have organization and time management skills down pat. It means that this is an area that you have identified a weakness in. You can set a goal, and these are the steps you're going to take to get to that goal. And by analyzing, looking backward, connecting the dots, setting the plan, you can see how you improve over time. And with that improvement, you can become confident. And then when you come on next year, you can remember that, hey, Cliff said this, but no, I am also that. You know, so that's the kind of mindset that we're trying to achieve. So we're not going to pretend that we're all at Cliff's level where we just have it like that. But with systematic work and effort, we can get better, right? So I believe I preempted myself just now. I believe the next slide actually speaks to that very thing. It says, how do I? So let me get to that. So how do I play politics effectively? I was kind of being cheeky here, guys. Forgive me, and I don't want to be on the nose too much. But within the behavioral context, it tends to come off as being political. How do I play politics effectively within an organization as a BA? I want to be cheeky. Help me. Or is it just me who wants to be cheeky and is seeing the fun in that? Lost my audience. Come back, guys.
That's just kind of part of human nature, to be honest. You know, relationships with each other, understanding the way people think, why they think that way.
If you show respect to people and take their input, even if you don't always act on it, and try to get win-wins and get everybody some wins, all those things help.
Yeah. So you're not gonna people please though, right? You're gonna try to get, yeah.
Sometimes you have to put your foot down, and sometimes your superiors do. So I have often said, I don't have to win them all, and I probably shouldn't win them all. But if I don't win any, we're going to have a problem.
Yeah. So I put that as learn how to say no, right? And there's something that I was even talking to a friend of mine earlier today. She's a legal associate, right? And she has this overwhelming sense of, let me do this. I want to do it well. I want to achieve. I want to stand out. I want to be that guy or that person that they come to. So she's always, putting herself out there and being caught out there because she has so much on her plate, and then she feels overwhelmed. So I'm like, you have to learn to say no. And you can look at it and say, okay, let me check my calendar and get back to you. Or I would love to help you with that, but please define so people can spend more time thinking about what exactly they want and who they want to do it, because it doesn't mean you have to come in to save the day, right? Or maybe you need to say, hey, maybe if you give me some time, let me finish these 5 things, then we can talk about doing that for you maybe next week or the following week. And based on their priority stack, they may want it sooner, they go find somebody else, or they can wait, It's about how you negotiate and be clear in what you say and how you do it. You don't have to be rude. And if something doesn't go your way, don't take it personal. Right? And if you see something that's bad in the workplace, you can address it. You don't have to be a loudmouth and cause disruption, but you can address what's going on and try to make sure you are demonstrating the ethics and the ethical mindset that we spoke about earlier, right? Anybody else want to jump in here and tell me, how do I, forget the politics part, how do I behave in a manner that's befitting of the profession? How do I do that?
Can add to that. So I honestly, I don't mind sharing. Like I when I was growing up, like I was one of the, like, my parents, like they spoiled me. Like I figured this out when I was an adult, like how spoiled I grew up. So I really did a lot of work on myself. I got to personal growth and development. Like, I realized, wow, I have to do a lot of work on myself. And then one book that really helped me is like, we constantly, you immerse yourself into like personal growth that really helps you when you're out there. Like, I'm also part of Toastmasters that really helps you in my workplace. So it's cool. There's a book called Boundaries. It's really good. It helps you how to, really make sure, people don't walk all over you. You make sure you assert yourself. You're dominant. You don't let people walk all over you. You make sure you tell them certain things. Your standards, your requirements. Tell them that these are the procedures. This is what I want. This is what I'm. Especially in leadership position, you want to be a good leader. You want to lead by example. And the people you work with, you want people respecting you, walking all over you. You know what I mean? So it's important to have certain boundaries. Right? Boundaries are important in all areas of your life. So I highly recommend this book. I highly recommend it. So it's
Awesome.
important to have certain boundaries. Boundaries are important in all areas. I recommend it. Awesome.
But Cliff, is that you? Cliff, you want to say something?
Oh, no, we're getting an echo. I was making sure it was me.
You want to say something?
Oh, no, we're
Oh,
getting an echo.
you're on twice. Okay. Okay. So thank you, Ben. I believe you teach people how to treat you, right? So you basically will reinforce the bad behavior they have by acquiescing to it, being a yes person, or by setting boundaries and being assertive in who you are. You set the standard of treatment that you want for yourself, and based on how you treat others is also important. So you don't have to go be I don't want to use profanity, but that type of person who is
so you don't have to go back.
You want to keep that.
Profanity, but that type of person who is something.
You're coming through again.
You want to keep that.
Marlon, I'd like to interject something here.
Sure, go ahead.
You're coming through again, Cliff.
Can you hear me?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. I heard something several years ago that was so true. It just resonated with me. Those behaviors that you do not object to, you endorse. So if you just like put up with somebody with bad behavior, but you're basically endorsing their bad behavior. That's one reason Agile teams can be so effective, is because you can bring forth, this is not productive because it causes these results. And I just love that about self-managed Agile teams. That is all.
Okay, I muted myself, so I had to make sure that this thing came out. Thank you, I love that. So let's look at pitfalls and lessons. I believe we did a bunch of that just now.
Thank you, I love that. So,
can you mute your mic, Cliff? I believe the feedback is coming from your speaker, from your system.
I'm on mute. Thea is the other one that's in his Tampa Bay chapter 2.
Oh, so Thea, okay. Sorry about that. Just keep your mic mute, guys. And thank you. We've been doing well so far. I want to commend you for allowing me to be boring this evening. So we have here pitfalls, traps, and lessons for our behaviors. Don't be selfish. It's there, right? Learn to prioritize work effectively. You have to do that and have an ownership mindset. And persons tend to want to shy away from taking responsibility. I mean, some organizations, unfortunately, tends to blame people and shy away from it. They don't want ownership. They don't want additional work. They don't want, that extra effort is not there. And maybe it's because they don't pay overtime. It's not incentivized. Persons have different reasons. Personally speaking, I can tell you that if you want success and you want to have the product you're working on make it to the market or do well, you have to take responsibility for what's going on, right? And Tia just spoke about self-organized agile teams. I'm a part of one of those, and ownership mindset is key to that, right? So business knowledge, I'm going to pretend I don't know anything here. Let's pretend Marlon doesn't know anything. So guys, what's your area of business? What area do you specialize in? Tell me, just quick shoot off the word. What area you specialize in, Ben? And what does business acumen mean to you in that area?
I'm gonna have to pass to have somebody else answer that question.
Okay, Sylvia?
I'm gonna have to pass to have somebody else answer that question.
Okay. Sylvia?
You're echoing, Ben. What was the question again?
What area do you work in? And what does business acumen mean to you in that area?
Technology would be a skill set so vast, but I'm not sure what acumen is. You didn't give me time to Google it.
No problem. Let me pull up this guy. I have it here. So let's see what this says. Let me put it on the screen so we can all see it, and that's why we have it here, business knowledge. So let's talk about this business acumen. What does that mean? It says here, because I have you right there. Don't cause me any problem now. My system is moving very slow, guys. Forgive me. Or is it just me? But this thing is super slow. I don't know why. All right, business acumen. So business acumen is the ability to understand business needs using experience and knowledge obtained from other situations. Organizations frequently share similar practices, such as legal or regulatory requirements, finance, logistics, sales, marketing, supply chain management, human resources, and technology. Business acumen is the ability to understand and apply the knowledge based on those commonalities. Right? Make sense? So within your field, what have you been drawing on to make yourself better? You have to be able to do that. That's key.
Your field, what have you been drawing on to make yourself better? You have to be able to do that. That's key.
I joined this group.
I'm currently working in data governance at KPMG.
I joined this group.
And data governance is all about regulations and handling of data. And so I'm pulling on regulations from medical diagnostics and insurance and legal and banking, and identifying how to manage those regulations from my past experience and just transferring it to this new field.
Awesome.
Are you doing any data normalization? Because that's usually a big part too. Are you doing any data normalization? Because that's usually a big part too.
No, actually, we're just assigning policies that should be followed in managing and sharing the data. Data normalization and data masking is separate departments.
Awesome. Guys, I need to do a time check because I didn't remember to set an alarm when I started, which is something that Toastmasters taught me to do.
I didn't remember to set an alarm when I started, which is something that Toastmasters taught me to do.
It's okay. We are at time. We have 1 minute left in the meeting. How far are we in chapter 9? How far have we come?
Well, halfway through. I took it slow, guys, because I wanted to have the kind of discussion that we're having. I found it to be very beneficial.
Because I wanted to have the kind of discussion that we're having. I found it to be very beneficial.
Well, would you consider, since we're halfway through, let's do another of these next week and work on the other half?
Sure, I'm good.
Please, more Marlin is better.
Sure, I'm good.
Please, more Marlin is better.
I agree. In fact, Marlon, if you want to do this for the next 2 weeks, and let's spread it out, because this is really valuable information, and the conversations that we're having are valuable. And I would hate to rush through this just for time's sake and not get into some of the depth that we need to get into to understand this chapter. Would that be okay with you?
Sure, because this is a learning thing for me as well. So I'm absorbing as I talk.
Because this is a learning thing for me as well. So I'm absorbing as I talk, you know.
Okay, very good. Okay, then that's the plan for now, unless anybody objects. And if you object, talk to me personally. Marlon's going to lead this for the next 2 weeks. We're going to go through the rest of chapter 9 in depth. Do me a favor and do yourself a favor and read through chapter 9 between now and next week. You'll be able to participate much more deeply. And maybe if you have something that you run across you don't understand or it's new to you, spend 5 minutes doing some research and learn more about it. There is a wealth of knowledge in this chapter. I personally have some context to tell you there's a wealth of knowledge in this chapter. So we will meet back here 1 week from today, and we'll go through the next several sections in chapter 9 and see what we can get done. And I will talk to y'all then. Marlon, you have been a blessing to us. Thank you so much for leading us through this today.
Thank you, guys. And I see the comments. I see some of them I've been able to see all of them while presenting.
Thank you, guys. And I see the comments. I see some of them I've been able to see all of them while presenting. But thank you, and this means a lot to me.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your participation, and we will see you in 1 week.
All right. Talk to you guys later.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah, have a good evening, guys.
All right.